In this video, what I'm going to be doing is introducing a store kiosk. Now, there are many forms that this can take, and why would you want to use one? If you have a business where you have walk-in clients and you want to be able to show them information that's related to your business, this is the kind of a kiosk that you can use. Now, it's custom designed to fit the particular requirements of the user, or of course you, who is the company owner or businessman. And what it does is it provides you an interface where somebody can sit down that knows how to use a computer, touch on the keyboard, or if it's on an iPad, use an iPad. I wouldn't recommend trying to do this with an iPhone. You need a large screen like we have here, which this is a iPad size, and it works really nicely on the desktop. I'm using this on the desktop just because I want to use a cursor and have the ability to point out the things that this application can do. Now, this application, this particular kiosk, was set up for the use with a consignment store. We have a consignment application that's used along with this. The benefit that this has is that when users come in and sign up as a potential user for a customer or a consigner, they can have one or both, because sometimes a consigner can be a buyer or a consigner consign items to a consignment store. Now, this particular application was also set up on this screen as a custom thing where the person that buys the kiosk has the ability to click in and then put whatever narrative they want in these screens. For example, if you want to put information in about your store that's specific to what people might want to read and understand about your store, you'd put that in. If you change the screen, now you're looking at what is a consigner. This is for people that are coming in and do not know anything about consignment and they want to be able to use it. Or they came in as a buyer and then realized since they live in the local area they want to become a consigner and bring in their items so they can sell them and actually get a commission for that. So what can I sell? In this particular case on this screen, you describe what people in your business that you're running will assume that you would bring in. Now you can put in things that you will want to have and things you don't want coming in. And that helps you help the customer or buyer or consigner. What is a consignment contract? You can spell out in a short form here what you expect from a client who is a consigner. And a consigner needs to have a set of consignment rules. And I can see we have a little thing there we got to correct. But basically what happens is that you teach a person the basics of becoming a consigner, or if they're a buyer, they can just bypass this information. It's not important to them. But obviously, if they come in and they're a buyer and they sit down and want to look at some of the information, or say you're very busy and you want to have them go over and read stuff so you can do business at your counter, you can let them browse and do things. Now, this particular application also allows one thing that's really important. A consigner can come in with the goods he's going to be giving the consignment store and sit down and add those items to the consignment store in a form. That's very important from the standpoint of the business maximizing their time in the store and allowing the consigners themselves to add consignment items to their particular form. When a consigner comes in or a buyer comes in and signs up to use this, the next time they come in, they can also come in and use their ID as far as what they created when they created their customer or consigner record. They can go to that and then use those pieces of information to do whatever they want as far as signing up for or bringing items in for consignment or asking questions, seeing what store specials are going on. Store events, for example. You can have a list of events that are coming up in the future that you want people to know about, where you may be offering specific things that they might be interested in. And a consigner sign up, in this particular case, the consigner sign up and customer sign up are a little bit different. The customer sign up is a buyer. The consigner sign up is a guy that wants to be a consigner. And then things, for example, either a buyer or a consigner might say, I want certain items if they come in, would you hold them for me? So you have a screen here where they can do that. Then they also have your website if they want to browse the World Wide Web on your website and see what other things you do and more information about your store. They have the option to sit and actually browse through your store. The last thing I wanted to touch on is how do I get commissions? Well, if you're a consigner and you sign up as a consigner and start bringing items in, first of all, you would get a contract and you'd work out how you're going to work with the store. It's very quick to do, especially if you have this particular thing you're talking about here, where the consigner and consigner store owner has put in the information that would make you very quickly understand what the store does. Plus, you have a thing here called frequently asked questions. You can have people ask a question, and then you can have them or yourself enter an answer. In this particular case, if it's a buyer and he says, well, I did this and I did that, I want to know how to do this and that. Well, you can have all those in here, and these would be customers from the past that started their customer thing, or a consigner put in a question, and that way you don't have to answer the questions over and over and over again. Somebody asks a question, you get an answer, and then users, customers, or consigners can go through here and get answers to questions. At the top of each one of these screens, there's a little narrative at the top that tells the person that's using the screen how to use it. Let's go back over here. Now, the store specials, I'm just going to pop through these, and basically what it does, it says these are store things and the quantities that are available for, or maybe there, or they're not available, and that's what this does. This tells them by a drop-down list it's either sold out, canceled, for sale, or layaway, or nearly gone. So people can look in there, and especially if you have a consignor store can also have retail items. So if you had a list of retail items in here that you're selling, people could come in and they could see that those items may be something that they're interested in, because you can get more and you can vary that particular quantity of items based on how well they sell. So if you had a store special sale, you might want to put all your inventory in as far as items that are retail, where you bought them at wholesale and you're retailing them, and they're not really consigned by another consigner. Your store is actually buying and selling items that were wholesale. And so if you were doing drop ship, you could do drop ship if you had to, and other things that are really important. Okay, let's go back. Okay, this takes care of the consignor policy FAQs, the consignor items. Let's just look at the form. The form is very simple. It has instructions here for what the consignor would do as far as adding stuff and asking questions if required. If they sit down and they've already signed up as a consignor, their name will be in the drop-down list. So if you wanted to, say, find your name in the drop-down list and put it in here, now this is items that you're consigning, and this would only have to be done once the day you created the form. Or you can say add a record if you're going to be doing something like your brother, your sister, your mom, or your dad is going to be doing this. You'd put in their name when you signed up as a consignor, and then they have their own record. There are many stores where the relatives all have their own individual records where they bring items in and then they drop them off and then get commissions for when they're sold. The way you do this, you could say start a find. In this particular case, you need to be in a portal to do that in this record, but you would drop down and pick your name, and then what had happened, this is a record that can be used. You cannot search, even though they show you here that you can't search. There's a multi-line record here that causes some problems if you try to search in this area. But if I reach down and I pick this, and then I said, okay, do a find based on that, it brings up all the records of items that this person has consigned. And that way you can see all the items that came in that you put into the system, and then you can get the latest status as far as they're sold or not, because there's comments over on these records where you can have comments that you can add or the store can add about them. And there could be a store commission amount in here or cash amount or whatever. And some stores do a thing called store credit. Other ones do buyer fees, and so there are those kind of things that you need to discuss with the store owner when you're doing your contract and understand how they work. So, like for example, this person has $2 in store credit that they can spend back in the store for the item that was actually sold. And a buyer gets charged a fee that goes to the store owner when a commission, it's like a commission addition for the store owner. Now this is all capable of being changed if you need to have it changed and modified so that you have the things that you want in there the way you want them. Now consignor, in this particular case, when he clicks on it, it says this screen is for new consignors sign-ups only. If you already entered your sign-up, do not continue and click to cancel. So when you click this, it's going to give you a new blank record. I'm going to go ahead and do it so I can show you what it is. You have the date you consigned, the consignor's name, the address, the city, state, zip, so forth, and all this down through here. What you want to do is when you sign up is put comments in here as a new consignor, or tell the person to put in their information about things that they might be interested in selling or whatever. Okay, let's go back to the main record. I'm going to say revert the record, and I'm going to say revert it again, and then I'm going to go out of it. See, I don't want to keep that record. Don't want to keep it and create a record I don't need. Okay, wanted request. This is for people, buyers or consigners, because they can be both, where you come in and you say, I'm looking for a particular item. Say I want some red emerald shoes because you have a play for your daughter and you want to see if you have any coming in. If you want, they want you to put them aside for them. And this particular person said, I will be paying, if I buy it, I don't want to pay more than, but I want a quantity of, and I wanted it by a certain date. And then the person puts their drop down from the drop down list. You can pick who you are and what you want. And you can put in here searching for found, and this is a status for the items that are actually in there. So that way the consignment store can notify you when they actually come in. Okay, let's go over here. Visit the website is pretty straightforward. It pops up a website, and it would be your website. We use your URL. In this particular case, I have one of my clients that I have in here now that has their URL in here. For example, if you say, because this is a consignment store, you could say this is the policies. You can click on it and it shows you the policies the way they did it on their website. Websites differ from this actual application because people that are coming into the store are probably signing up to be a consignor, or they want to be a buyer with information where they want you to provide information for them. Now, one of the interesting things about this application, the way it's set up, there's an interface here where you can put in the information. And on this one down here in the corner, see how that little thing changes? This is the back end of the store where the store owner has all of these things that they can do that are related to creating different screens and stuff for managing information. And you can see, for example, I'll point out the most important ones. You can actually do messages to people that are related to either sales or personal things to that particular person. You can do group SMS to send out emails. And this one's really interesting. You can export the consignor data or export the customer data to put it directly into your consignment store. So this means if you have an application like the consignment store that you purchased from us, this would allow you to export the data so you can pull it right into your consignment store in these particular screens. Once you set up the exports, they repeat exactly the same all the time. And then when you do imports in your app, they would allow you to do that. I'll point out one thing: you cannot import to an iOS device because Apple never realized that people may want to do that. This is usually for a multi-user type of a situation or a desktop application where it's on a, say, like a workstation, and you want to export from here and then import them in. iOS cannot do that. They just don't have the functionality to do that. SMS is really interesting. You can set up a series of records for all the people that you have and that you want to group. You do a find based on whatever criteria you want. For example, you could either do it by a person's name, you can do it by a mailing list, and you can create your own mailing list. For example, one would be called mailing list if it was the top one and you sent it to everybody. Then you might have consignor's mailing list local. You can have anything you want as far as a mailing list. And when you do a find to find that list, then that brings up all the people that you want to send whatever message you put in here. When they set up their record as a consignor, you want them to have, or a buyer, you want them to have this information in: the number, the customer name, and the to number. In other words, the to number is the number that the SMS will send it to. And then you have all these different call centers, for example, like carriers like Verizon and just all of them, Sprint, all the rest of them. You have to pick that and put in a number that is for your SMS account. And that way, when you go to send an SMS or create a group for an SMS, you can do that. And it puts up a little message how do you do that. There's also the stuff that we set up that is in here to allow you to do stuff. Customer promos. If you set up a promo and you want a certain bunch of people, what you'll do is you'll say, okay, I want all those people that are in this list for that promo, and then you can send that email out to them by doing a find based on any criteria in here. For example, the coupon name or something that's a coupon that's going to be applied to something, you can have those items in there. And if you're doing a find, you can do a find also in the portal record, or you can do it from a list view by getting a list of people doing the find, and then those people would show up in the current selection so that you can send people those messages. Now, as far as this is concerned, this is a little thing about the SMS and how it was set up, and it's not really that important to each user. Okay, so this is the back end of the store. If you're on the back end and you want to come back to the main manager screen, it would take you back in here. These are all things that you have control over: how they look, what's going into them, and so forth. Consignor sign up, you might want to do a list view for that. Consignor sign up list view. This is for customers and consignors, so you can have a list view where you might want to look through those and find a particular person. The customer track list, this is for, and let's look at it, this is for tracking particular things that was about the client. For example, if they're put into a group like the main list in group 2, in this case, this is a person that is the actual group that you could be sending people to. You do a find and you say, I want group 2 people, or I want the main list, or you can have say a buyers list, and only buyers would get the SMS messages. Reason we're doing SMS messages is that they're much quicker, and people don't just swipe it and throw it away if they see it in your email, or they may just throw it away accidentally, or it goes to, say, like the spam folder. This, when they go to SMS, it means that they're going to probably open it and read it. Okay, so that's very important. Manager screen again. Wanted items. This is things that you can keep your own list of people that you may want, or people have asked you for stuff. Store events. You could have sales events and stuff like that that you want to work on and add. And customer tracking, like we already talked about. Okay, if you need any more information about how this application works or how it can be custom to fit your particular company, or you have something where you want to have a kiosk in your store for whatever reasons, we can write you a kiosk that's custom just for your business. So if you want to contact me, you can contact me at V, like in Vaughn, Clement, Clement, @gmail.com. Our website is ontargetsolutions.biz. Thank you.